and I asked folks what their opinions were on who would be included in their favorite fantasy or science fiction humor writers. And the name that showed up the most often was Martha Wells in the Murderbot series. Hey everybody, welcome to D3 Reads. I'm Eric, and today I want to talk to you about the Murderbot Diaries. Now, if you're a science fiction fan, you've probably already got this on your radar, not just because it's a super popular science fiction series, but also because in May, Apple TV is going to begin broadcasting their adaptation of these books on the channel. So, if you're kind of late to the game like I am, you may wonder if you should read these books before watching. And in my opinion, it's an emphatic yes. A couple of months ago, I had this idea that I wanted to put together a video, which I'm working on now, of the best authors of humorous science fiction fantasy. Now, there's a couple of names that everyone I think would agree belong on there. You know, you've got Terry Pratchett with the Discworld novels. You've got Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then you've got some more contemporary or current authors, like you got John Scalzi, who of course is best known for Old Man's War, but you see his wit and his satirical skills in in the books Red Shirts and in Starter Villain, as well as some other books. You have Neil Gaiman, who co-wrote with Terry Pratchett Good Omens, one of my favorite humorous fantasy type books. And so there's lots of authors out there that I wanted to include in this, but I thought to myself, there's definitely some authors out there that I'm overlooking that I'm not familiar with. So I asked the question out on social media, specifically Blue Sky and Threads, and I asked folks what their opinions were on who would be included in their favorite fantasy or science fiction humor writers. And the name that showed up the most often was Martha Wells in the Murderbot series. Now, peripherally, I had heard of it, but I for whatever reason, I never explored what this book would be like. So I kind of got lucky because just a couple of weeks ago, I started pulling together the resources to do this video on best humor authors of fantasy and science fiction, and I decided that the Murderbot Diaries should be included in that just to see what it's like. Now, this time it was in the middle of 3 different books, and I took a look on Hoopla, and I saw that they had the audiobook version of the Murderbot Diaries, or rather the first book of the series called All Systems Red. And so I started listening to the audiobook, and surprisingly, the first couple of chapters, for some reason, it wasn't doing it for me. It was like the first 2 chapters, I enjoyed what I was hearing, but the humor wasn't quite landing. And so I put it aside for a couple of days, and I was going to just go ahead and purchase the book because I was certain that the written version would probably deliver the humor a little bit better. But then a couple of days went by, and I was going on a drive somewhere, and I thought, well, I got nothing else to listen to. I'll listen to this Murderbot Diaries a little bit more. And I don't know what happened, what changed, but it just clicked with me from that point on, and I enjoyed it. I listened to the whole thing, and I enjoyed it so much, I started listening to the second in the series called Artificial Condition right after that. And I'm over halfway done with that, but I'm enjoying them so much, I went ahead and I ordered the print version because I wanted to have it in my library. So let's talk the Murderbot Diaries. Now, this is actually a series of novellas. The first 4 stories are a series of novellas. You have All Systems Red, that's published in 2017. You got Artificial Condition, which is published in 2018. Also in 2018, Rogue Protocol and Exit Strategy. And then the first full-length novel was published in 2020 called Network Effect. Since then, 2 more books have come out, Fugitive Telemetry and System Collapse. Excuse me. Now, the setting of this is pretty cool. So you live in this futuristic world where interstellar space travel is a thing. But there's a lot of course, space exploration going on, and that's kind of a risky business. And so if you're going out exploring planets and trying to size them up for whatever research, trying to do archaeological work, or you're exploring the planet for resource exploitation or whatever, the best way of taking care of that is to sign a contract with the various companies out there who will provide you with equipment, right? Well, in addition to equipment, because it's such a risky business, you have to get bonds done, basically insurance policies, to cover you just in case something happens to either you or to the equipment that you're effectively leasing here. I want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that this is this idea of taking out insurance is pivotal to a science fiction story like this. But it's not the first time. You know, it strikes me that one of the most popular science fiction books out there, Hammer Slammers, the Hammer Slammers series, fundamental to the world of that book is this idea of having bond guarantees for the work that the Hammer Slammers do. And in both of these works, it's an essential driver of the plot, because what happens to the heroes or the main characters in the story and how the villains execute or the antagonists execute their side of things is all shaped by whether or not these insurance policies will have to pay out and how. So I say that because it's just, obviously Hammer Slammers wasn't humor based, but it is an interesting way, I think, that a good author can take something as mundane as insurance and roll it into a story like this. So anyway, so in this story, the first of the books, All Systems Red, what you have is this group of researchers who are exploring this planet, and they have to rent this equipment and sign this bond to go down the planet to use this equipment. And part of the agreement is they have to bring with them something called a SEC unit, which is short for security units. These SEC units are cyborgs. They're part organic, part machine. And they are designed for two different purposes. Well, in this case, two different purposes. You have a SEC unit, which is a security unit, which provides general security for the people that are leasing them. And then you have, it also has to protect as best as its ability the equipment of the company that's leasing it, and then also to provide a variety of other services, to include basically recording and spying on everything that the humans have rented it are doing, because the company wants to make sure that, one, they have the ability to, I guess, sue them if they do anything to breach their contract and therefore make the bond null. But also, they do data mining. This sounds kind of spooky, right? Or it sounds kind of relevant. They data mine some of the stuff that their clients might be saying or doing or whatever. Maybe some of it overtly, some of it clandestinely, but they can basically use all that data to make money in the future. So basically, because the SEC units are constantly surveying the human clients, there's usually not a very good relationship between them. And in our case, the main character, the person speaking and telling the story, has dubbed itself Murderbot. And the reason why is because, and this is a cool thing about this particular book, All Systems Red, is it's not really the beginning of the story. You see, Murderbot had something happen before the book begins, which is somehow while on a mission where it was being used as a SEC unit, it turned on its human masters and killed 57 people. It doesn't know why, because after every mission, the memories of a SEC unit are wiped. And so it doesn't know why it did that. But what it does know is after this happened, it hacked into its brain. There's something called a governor module in its brain that's supposed to make it do whatever it's told. But the Murderbot decided it was going to hack into it and disable that feature so that it could choose whether or not it was going to follow orders. And it's got a reason for that. It wants to figure out why it murdered those people. Was it somehow forced? Was it corrupt? It doesn't know. And so while this first book is going on, that's kind of playing in the background, and that's why it calls itself Murderbot. So anyway, the story is cool because Murderbot is got a lot of anxieties. It doesn't like talking to humans. I think sometimes we can all relate to that. It doesn't like looking people in the eye. It doesn't like being asked its feelings, because in this particular case, in this first book, All Systems Red, its clients are likable people. And that kind of bothers it because Murderbot does not want to relate or care for anyone. It's a bot. It's not supposed to, but it finds itself kind of feeling, I guess, a desire to help these people, and these people are treating it like it's a person. Now, these Murderbots, again, they're organic too, and so they have human faces, but the Murderbot likes that they have these helmets and likes to keep the helmet closed and opaque so that they're treated like, so that the humans won't feel the need to treat it like a human. The research mission goes south pretty quick, and the plot, as the plot unfolds, you find the Murderbot having to take on more and more responsibility caring for these humans. Now, my reviews are spoiler-free unless otherwise noted, so I'm not going to give too much of the detail of the plot away, but I will tell you that I enjoyed Murderbot's presence. I enjoyed the characters, the main characters in the story. It was just a lot of fun, and it was very engaging, and I just had to go ahead and jump into the second book in the series, and I plan on trying to finish them. Now, I don't have Apple TV, so I'm not going to be able to watch the series right away, but I would like to finish them before I actually watch it. I watched the preview for the series, and in some cases, it looked like they were hitting pretty close to the type of anxiety that Murderbot experiences in dealing with its humans. And sometimes it seemed to fall a little bit flat. So I'm kind of curious, if you watch the Murderbot Diaries series on Apple, please come back here and leave a comment and let us know in general terms. It caught the essence of the books or not. It looks like it's trying to follow pretty much the plot of All Systems Red. I wouldn't be surprised if it pulled stuff from some of the subsequent novels, because there's a bigger story going on than what I've read so far. I've only, again, read All Systems Red, and I'm about halfway through Artificial Condition. And through that, you're already getting hints that there's a bigger story going on. And so I'm sure some of that's going to get pulled into the series. So if you're the type of person that wants to read the book before you see the movie, I strongly suggest you get hold of the Murderbot Diaries and at least read that first one. Again, as a novella, it's a pretty quick read. I think you're going to enjoy it. So that's it. That's the review of the Murderbot Diaries. It's a really fantastic, the first book and a half are fantastic. I'm looking forward to finishing the rest of them. I hope to have more of them done by the time I finish up the best humor authors for fantasy and science fiction coming out in a couple of weeks. So let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you've read the Murderbot Diaries, and let us know which one's your favorite. So thanks so much for your time. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. We'll see you next time.